Hey kids, it's Bobo here, and you're listening to the wildest, most far out, wiggling podcast, Anime Egotists. We love you, beauty.
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where I don't think I want to get in the body of a mascot.
Like in like the actual costume.
Like if somebody was in a mascot costume, I wouldn't want to share it with them.
Yeah, that I already hear that they stink and are sweaty and hot. So adding another person, no.
Yeah, it's not fantastic. Anyways, my name's Alex, and honestly, you guys have heard me say it before, but Mega Man Star Force, like, anytime you want to come back, just please.
As we've said, it's 2 more years because the NT Warrior one just got its release.
Yeah, do people still talk about NFT Warrior?
Yes, well, it just came out, so. And I'm Richard.
That is correct. And guys, you may recall a couple of months ago, actually no, that might actually be a couple of months ago, we did a video about anime characters that best represent us. Characters that we feel like throughout their struggles and throughout their triumphs, they represent the person we are. Now, we could be reaching because we liked a lot of these characters, but at the same time, I'd like to think we did a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, but this time we decided to piss each other off by talking about the other one.
You come again for Big Fudge?
Yeah, we're gonna piss the hell out of each other.
Yeah, but this time we decided to talk about anime characters that best represent, well, each other. So for newer fans, this might not be that great, but longtime fans might be able to jump on our side and say, yeah, that describes Richard. But throughout our years of, I want to say friendship, but I don't really know anymore, where we've grown to learn a lot about each other. So we'd like to think that these are the characters that best represent each other. And hopefully we can all walk away with some semblance of friendship left.
Hopefully. So do you want to start us off on this one?
Actually, I would love to. So,
Okay.
The first character that represents you in my eyes, Rei Suwa from Buddy Daddies.
Okay.
What was that look for?
Because he's on my list for you.
No. Okay, so no.
I want to know your reasoning, and then we'll talk about it for.
You see, I told you before. There's a chance we might have the same characters, and yeah. Anyways, the reason I say you're more Rei is I guess I just get the feeling that between the two of us, you're definitely the more. Let's just stay in. Let's just stay in and not do that much today, which is not necessarily a bad thing. At the same time, though, there are times where the thing about Rei is I get the feeling that he's a lot better at his actual job, like assassinating and killing people and that sort of thing. And he's far more likely to just barge in. And when we play Grand Theft Auto, you're much more likely to be the person like, no, let's just kick the door down. Where I'm like, no, we could go around and try something. You're like, no, we're not doing that. In all honesty, though, there are moments where, like, if one of us is going through something, you'll just basically say, oh, well, just keep doing it how you do it. And at times, I'm thinking, that's kind of a basic thing to tell somebody. Why would Richard say that? But then, as I think more about it, I'm like, oh, no, just keep doing what you're doing. It's the simplest advice, but at the same time, sometimes that's what you need. Plus, at the same time, I do envision you saying stuff like, oh, well, like if I told you, hey man, we're running out of money for video games and beer, that's where you would get serious. Like, no, we can't let this happen.
I can see that. I for mine with you, I actually debated between Rei and Kazuki because you have elements of both in your personality.
You can switch to Kazuki if you want, if that makes it easier.
I'll kind of just go over both real quick. The parts of Rei that I viewed were for you were you don't always show your emotions as front and center, in my opinion. But I deep down I know that you do care about the people in your life. So that's kind of where I was going with this one, just because if I had some other stuff. The Kazuki part was more of the you're better with money, I think, than a lot of the our friend group,
Yeah, that's sad. That is sad but true.
and uh, I had a feeling like if we ever actually were roommates where we had a kitchen on a regular basis and stuff, you would have ended up doing most of the cooking and stuff. I would, of course, I would have tried to help with the cleanup and all that, but I have a feeling you would have done most of the cooking, mainly because I think if I had tried to step in the kitchen while you were doing something, you probably would have killed me.
It is true. I don't like people in the kitchen with me, but in all seriousness, I could see both sides of that for me because I do. There are times I do just want to just close out and just like, emotions. No, that's not it. But there are times at the same time where, compared to the two of us, I think I freak out a little more than you do, or show more energy with it. And truth be told, there are times where between the two of us, I'm far more likely to say something like, "Yeah, that's our girl. That's our genes at work," and you just look at me like, "What?"
Yeah, you would probably talk more like Kazuki. Thinking on it more, I probably should have put Kazuki, but I picked
I
Ray just because, again, I you show more of that hyperactive side, but then have the but it's more for you, it's more of playing it up, I feel like, as well.
somewhat a little bit of A, a little bit of B, but yeah, I get that. Also, just for A, just in the sense of I don't know. Oh, I feel like for you, it's never a case of I can't believe Alex is doing this. It's more along the lines of I can't believe I'm still stuck with Alex and he's still doing this. You, I never once think you're going to leave, but at the same time, I do think if I stick with Richard too long and keep doing the stupid stuff I'm doing, he's going to call me out for it.
Maybe eventually. Mm. But I can understand where you came from for Ray. As I said, you're probably the best way to describe is you're actually kind of a combination of both Ray and Kasuki.
I could see that. And there aren't that many characters, so I'm like, actually, no, I do think of one character who's Jabari, but that's another video for another day.
Yeah. Stay tuned. We might do this again with people that you've seen on this before.
Lower your expectations, but you're Ray. I'm Kazuki. I guess you're the more popular one because people like Ray more. But yeah,
That's kind of hard to believe because I feel like you're the more popular of the two of us on here.
I don't know. But anyways, we both kind of got ours out of the way. So do you want to just move on to the next one?
Go right ahead.
All right. I thought about saying Conway from Pokemon. I'll explain why, but I didn't go with him. I decided to go with somebody else from Pokemon.
Okay.
Trip.
Okay.
In all honesty, I always get the feel because let's be honest, Trip is not a bad person per se. He's kind of serious and he's calculating with his strategies, but he's not like you could find yourself hanging out with him for a good bit. Not to mention, I feel like you've talked about how like you like to like plan things out in some regards, and I feel like he wasn't necessarily the best at improvising. Like if something goes wrong, he's like, "What do I do?" Also, there's always the jokes we have of if we're in the Pokemon anime, we're making fun of Ash, and to safe to say, Trip does do that. But at the same time, though, I wouldn't necessarily say he and Ash are friends at the end of the series. It's just more along the lines of we're cool, but whenever I see you guys partying or having fun, I'm not going to get involved. Not because he hates them, but just he's not that type of person. You're not the type of person to go over the top and weird.
I can kind of understand that. I think it takes like I mean you'd kind of know it. At first I'm very much that way. Once I start getting to know you and we became roommates and friends and all that through college, it was one of those uh I showed a little bit more weird stuff, but it just I have to get to know you and get used to being around you and what is like a joke my ability to make jokes and stuff for without causing issues.
Yeah, and and we've also kind of talked about before because he had a Vanillite, correct? It was either
Possibly,
Vanillite or Vanillux, the ice cream Pokemon.
I don't really remember his team because it changed like every time he showed up.
Yeah, but regardless, I remember one episode where he showed up with it, and Iris started freaking out, like, "Oh no, I'm a Dragon type trainer. I'm scared of ice Pokemon," which once again is really stupid. But I get the feeling that if you had a scary Pokemon or a dangerous Pokemon, you wouldn't see it like that. You're just like, look at him, he's so cute. And I'm like, no, it's a 10-foot monster. You should be terrified. And you're just like, no, but just look at him, just scratch him behind the ears. I'm just like, Richard, please. I don't know. I just sense that way with animals. Like, if even if an animal was completely dangerous to everybody else, I get the feeling if you were able to befriend it, you would. While we would all just be like, get that thing away from me.
I can kind of understand that. Again, I mean, I can see where you're coming from, and I do see it. So maybe that's why it's too much of myself in Trip. That's why I didn't like him.
Well, maybe that's why I didn't like Trip that much at first either. I'm just like, oh god, it's Richard. Or, furthermore, I was like 14 when I first saw Trip, so I didn't even know you at the time. And I'm just like, if I ever meet somebody like this in real life, we're gonna have a problem.
We have a problem.
Yes, every single week. But in all honesty, Trip, the analytical side and the not necessary, the more closed off, but still an approachable person.
As I said, I can kind of see it. I've grown to appreciate Trip more now that I saw more of his story with through actually watching the black and white anime. But he's, as I said, I can see the aspects of him in me.
Well, plus you also saw, wow, there are worse rivals in black and white than Trip. Maybe I was a little too hard on him.
That is very true.
Yeah, but Trip, he didn't have a last name, so yeah, him.
Okay, so my next one.
Go for it.
So I picked out Aizawa Eraserhead from My Hero.
Yeah, I figured.
Pretty much because of our time in the astronomy class, and
Oh no!
just your reaction of all the questions that were so off topic. If you, I imagine, I could see you if you had ever become a teacher, you just going, wanting to just tell them, just shut up. We'll talk. If you want to talk about this topic, go meet me after class, and we could possibly talk about it. But just not, but not willing to take in the middle of class the stupidity of that we had in that class. Because oh my god, that class was stupid.
Yeah. As I've gotten older, like there was a philosophy when I was younger. I was like, I'd rather hang out with a dumb person than a mean person, because dumb people could. Because sometimes you can say something dumb but still be nice. But now, as I've gotten older, I hear people say stupid stuff, and I'm like, oh god, maybe I should change that. Because people said stuff in that class, and I was like, why are we still here? Why are you? Why?
Exactly, and just that's very much his personality, especially in the earlier seasons, where when the class asks stupid questions or does something stupid, that his reaction is just like, I should fail you out of here right now. And I have a feeling that's what you wanted that to happen to them. Just, and I imagine that happened in several of your other classes as well. Just that was the only class we had together on a regular basis.
Believe it or not, Spanish class was like the only class that never really happened. Everything else was a free for all. But yeah, I could definitely see that. I remember when you first started watching My Hero as it came out, you were like, huh, you kind of remind me of that Aizawa guy. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, cool. It was either that or somebody else. I don't remember who it was. Somebody with a scarf.
Yeah. Plus, I could also, well, I think he's kind of the only one, but I could also see the aspect of you just wanting to have a big, fluffy sleeping bag with you at all times so that when the stupidity comes, you can just like go behind the desk and go to sleep and hope that it goes away.
I did sometimes carry a sleeping bag with me in high school. I'm just like, yeah, I can definitely see it. Based on everything I've heard about him, even from Jay, I'm like, yeah, that kind of sounds like me.
Yeah, I looked into your favorite character, even though you haven't seen it, Tokoyami, but you're not that. His personality is very much the goth and stuff, and I was just like, you've just never been that much goth, at least as long as I've known you.
I've never have been. I'm not gonna say never will be because, no, but no, you would be correct on that.
But yeah, Aizawa, I see it with how that class specifically we dealt with, just kind of having the issues and enjoying. He doesn't necessarily enjoy other people's pain, but the when she threw the rock at me, it's
Oh,
like your reaction was I could see that being as well, just like, oh, something bad happened to you. That's kind of funny, huh?
I should have given her a great opinion on on her SOI purely just because of that moment. But yeah, I can definitely see a bit of myself in Aizawa. That's his name, correct?
Yep.
Okay, but I can co-sign.
All right. Your next one.
Okay, SBO from Sonic X.
Okay, I don't.
I feel like as much as we talked, you, me, and Jabari, I guess, because we always kind of alternate on who's the quote unquote leader of the group. Like at one point, Jabari's like, since Richard's the leader of the group, and then he declared himself leader, then he said I was leader, and we just sort of left it at that. But in all seriousness, I felt like the three of us were kind of stuck together more than anybody else. And
Mhm.
SBO's a bit more of a serious character, or he doesn't get noticed that much. Was one, he's trying to be a ninja. It kind of makes sense. At the same time, though, you could probably argue he's the smartest out of everybody in the group. At the same time, though, he has his moments where where he basically trips on his own shoes, and I don't know. It feels like I said, Team Chaotix feel kind of like Team Rocket in some senses. And in some cases, I think I hear the stuff you say. I'm like, actually, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe we should try that instead of the stupid stuff we've been doing this past 5 minutes. And then there's another part of me that hears the stuff you say. I'm like, that didn't work. That didn't work. What made you think that would work? That was so dumb.
Again, I haven't seen his part of Sonic X, but I know vaguely of it from playing Sonic Heroes as a kid. So I guess I can co-sign. I need to go and watch Sonic X. I gave it a shot. I think back when I think it was on a Verve, and I just never added it to Crunchyroll or something like that. I
I
know
think
some.
the whole series is now on YouTube, and if not YouTube, it's on Netflix, I believe.
Okay, I'll have to see about finding it then.
Yeah. In all honesty, you do you get the like I do look at you and like he is like if somebody were to ask me, I'm like, no, he's a good guy. He's just he knows what he's doing. I'd like to. Plus I get the feeling if we all had a show together, you would finally join me in breaking the fourth wall because there's an episode where they're looking for Sonic, and after a scene transition, SBO says, "Huh, we got here that fast. Is the episode in that much of a hurry to be over? It only took one scene transition."
Oh God, yeah. I have a feeling we would, if we were anime characters, we would just keep breaking the fourth wall randomly.
People would get so sick of it, and I'd be like, "Yeah, I don't care."
But as I said, I'll co-sign. I need to go watch Sonic X to really get to know his personality because all you get in the Heroes was like the cutscenes and a few like random lines of dialogue while they're running through a level.
Yeah, yeah. Then again, he's not in the baseball episode, which makes me sad. Oh, that episode was. It was an episode.
All right, so you ready for my next one?
Sure.
So this one took me a little while because there are actually a few characters you could have been from Bleach, um, but I specifically in the end chose Chad from Bleach because you're kind of that big guy, and I just always pictured. Now again, I don't know if you whenever you went for your walks, if you went and talked with certain people or not, but I always just thought you went walking and you were kind of quiet by yourself and
No,
whatnot.
that's right.
So that's kind of the part of Chad's personality is I always felt like he gave off the strong silent type as you were walking through campus by on your like nightly walks or evening walks most of those times. So just that aspect and with your frame being 6'3", right?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's just walking through campus, and I just always picture the sunset. I never went with you really, except for when the fire alarm went off, and then it's just like, let's go for a walk.
Oh, that was always fun,
It
especially
was
when it was at 4 in the morning and we all were sleeping.
it was even better my freshman year when the fire alarms went off in the middle of December at 4 in the morning.
I would have just stayed.
At least I would have been warm.
No, and also I can kind I do can kind of understand that. There are like look, Look, I wouldn't necessarily say I hate people, but there are aspects of my life where I'm just like, I kind of just want to be left alone. So based on this character, I think I can see that.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that you or he wanted to be left alone. It was just you were projecting kind of that, I guess. Just but uh if someone had walked up, you wouldn't have been like angry or something about it or necessarily. You would have just been like, okay, whatever. And I kind of feel Chad would have done the same thing. It's like, okay, you're friendly to me. I'm not gonna pick a fight with you or anything.
Yeah, I don't like picking fights as much anymore. So in a way, what's his Zen pot, whatever it's called?
He has the two. He transforms his arm. He's one of the Fullbring, where it's like El Diablo, and I forgot what the other one's called, where he punches really hard.
I have been told I do that, but I haven't punched anything in a while, so yeah, I can go sign on to that.
Uh, your next one.
All right. Tadakuni from Daily Lives of High School Boys.
Okay.
All right, so Tadakuni's technically the main character of the show, but he kind of starts to lose that over the course of, well, 12 episodes. Well, but I think the reason is because Jabari, some of us will generally make the joke of you being. I'm trying to find the nicest way of saying this, but I'm trying to find the best way of saying this, but sometimes a bit on the plain side.
I see it.
Yeah, but at the same time, well, like, here's the thing: they never really joke about it that much. Like the fan base can kind of say, "Oh, he's kind of plain," but the guys don't really see it as, "Oh, he's plain, so we don't want to hang out with him." They just see it as, "Oh, he's our friend," and he also kind of keeps us in check because Tadakuni's kind of the voice of reason, and I feel like you're the voice of reason for us.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. Yeah, I mean, and yet still I went on random things like when Reese picked us up at midnight and we went to Walmart.
Oh God, I remember that night. That was something. But not to mention, one of the things I've noticed about him is Tadakuni also tells a lot of stories, and some of them are like some of them you don't really think about and you just move on. But others of them, like I've noticed this about you and him, you kind of both have a somewhat twisted sense of humor sometimes that all make us go, "What the hell?"
Yeah, it depends on my mood. If I'm more in that twisted mindset, then it comes out a lot easier.
Yeah, but not. But just at the same time, like even though he's not in all of the episodes, there are times like people readily admit that the show is at its best when all three of the boys are together, or all four or six. And I do start to notice when Richard's not around, I'm just like, huh, I'm surrounded by these morons. I need Richard to suffer with me.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, I hung out with Jabari freshman year before we really started hanging out, but uh, yeah, once it became a group of us, it was like, yeah, I can't be in here without Alex or vice versa.
I thought you were about to say, "Yeah, I can't be here," and I was going to say we could have just kicked. We like I always advocate. We can kick people out. It's okay.
I mean, the only time I think we didn't kick anyone out, but it was more of I asked y'all to go do it in Jabari and Nathan's room, and you hated it, but it was the time I had the migraine and just needed to sleep while y'all were watching wrestling.
Yeah, and well, to be fair, or look, we're not the cleanliest people, but we are practically maids compared to Jabari and Nathan. Their room was. We make jokes every now and then that there might have been something living in my closet. I think something might have been alive, half dead in their room because it wasn't fun.
Yeah, but but I can see it. I've never seen Daily Life of High School Boys, but just based on your description, I can see it.
Okay, yeah,
All right. So my next one.
sure.
So I specifically picked this out for your being a fan of wrestling.
Oh no.
I pulled it from One Piece. I picked Bartolomeo from One Piece. It's just, but this is specifically from when we either had a really amazing match that we were watching, or when we went to Raw or those smaller NXT matches, you kind of went more fanboy there than like the others, and just had an awesome time and loved talking with even just random people about how awesome these wrestlers were and all of that. So I kind of picked him out because of his fanboying over Luffy and the Straw Hats. I viewed that as your thing. But then when you're not necessarily with them or watching wrestling, you can be more serious, which he has that aspect. He's not always out there funny, but yeah, this that aspect with your love of wrestling, I picked him out because I feel like you one have like the most knowledge, which he had like all the knowledge of the Straw Hats. Of all of our group, it's like if I needed to know something about wrestling, like if I was on a game show, I'd call you before any of the others.
And I would probably be asleep, but I'd be like, look, just say, look, just say this wrestler's name. It'll be right. Like, are you sure? Are you questioning me? No, and in all seriousness, I'm gonna be honest. He's not really a character I remember too much about, out based on because my One Piece knowledge gets kind of spotty at times. But I can definitely see it just looking at this guy, and from everything I remember, I'm like, huh, yeah, I can kind of see it. I get a bit animated.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, you had an I think it was the first NXT event we went to. You shouted something, and one of the wrestlers actually reacted to you, and it was one of those like that's kind of how the like other characters react to him. So it was like, oh god, that's him.
Yeah, and I remember he ended up losing that match. So take that. I win. I win. So what are you gonna do? And it's weird because there are people because there were times where it was just me, Nathan, and Jay after you guys had graduated, and there were still people trying to talk to me. I'm like, why me? Why me? These other guys know wrestling. I'm like, yeah, but we'd rather talk to you. And I'm like, no, I get it.
I just felt like you were the most consistent watching and following exactly what was going on. So that it's like when I missed like 2 or 3 weeks due to like studying or doing a project or something, and I come back and go, what did I miss? And you tell me only the parts that I actually need to know and not the parts that were boring.
Yeah, because I have a good sense of what you like in wrestling.
Yeah, his name is Otis, and he's the sexiest man alive.
Well, yeah, and that's the only thing I tell you about anymore. But yeah, I can see it. I can co-sign.
All right. So you ready for our honorable mentions?
Sure thing. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a weird one, but I do want you to hear me out for it.
Okay.
From Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's Jack Atlas.
Okay.
I feel like whenever we talk about games, or like when we do games of like, oh, well, if I was in this world, I'd have these powers, or this sort of thing. I feel like you generally go for power-based stuff. Like, you go for very strong stuff. And I do remember at one point when we talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! You said you were a kid, you really liked the strongest monsters. But as you got older, you kind of realized maybe power isn't everything. And that's kind of what Jack learns throughout the series. Not to mention, like I've said with other characters, he's not necessarily the happiest, but he does have a good sense of right and wrong. And if you put him in an embarrassing situation, he doesn't exactly know how to go about it. It reminds me of the time I think we were walking back with like groceries or like food or like dinner or something like that, and we saw these two guys like breakdancing in the in front of the student union. Which, okay, why? And as they were dancing, I said, "Hey, you guys are good, but my friend over here could smoke you." And you just looked at me like, "Don't bring me into this." And Jack's kind of the person who was like, he has moments where he's like, I don't want to get involved in this. Please leave me out of it. But there are also moments where he might actually try and do something. It's like, oh, that's a challenge. Not that I think you'd actually start breakdancing or anything. But there are moments where I'd set you up for something like that just to laugh, and you'd be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do it. And that would trip me up like, wait, I was kidding.
I can kind of see it. I mean, I only vaguely remember the dance thing because I think after giving you the look, I picked up speed going the opposite direction.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait, stop, come back.
I was like, no, I'm not going to try to dance. You know I have two left feet from the one party thing that we went to.
That's correct. But like I said, just basically a sense of going from thinking, "Oh, power's the right way to do this," but also thinking, "Let me try something else."
Yeah, and I can kind of see that because I've experimented like with that stuff in different games with not using the strongest necessarily, but trying to get combos instead that use weaker things but make it strong. So I can kind of see that.
Yeah. Even though at the same time he doesn't completely change it, he uses like he'll use like 10% more strategy, but the rest of it's just like let's just go. Like cuz I can tell whenever we do like Grand Theft Auto or stuff, we seem to all be better when we just go in guns blazing as opposed to me like, "Oh, well maybe if we go in stealthy and you take out that guy." And I'm like, "Ah, forget. No, Richard was right. Let's just kick the doors down and see what happens."
Yeah, we've never been the best at sneaking in that game, that's for sure.
Ain't that the truth?
All right, my first honorable mention.
Go for it.
So this one comes mostly from what you've told me about like group projects and stuff
Oh no.
that you were in. So I put Ishi Sukasa from Food Wars. He's this kind of the student council president and all that from this, and his VP just keeps dumping all of her work on him. And I have a feeling, and based on what you've told me, you've had a lot of projects where you felt you did a lot more of the work than the rest, and that's
Yeah,
the main
basically.
reason. But I also feel like you also have a strong belief in giving like leveling the playing field for everybody. So and that's part of his character because he's one of the bad guys. It's kind of his view is trying to make cooking everyone's able to make the best level of food, and regardless of even if you aren't getting to cook what you want, you make everything kind of equal. So I could kind of see that maybe a little bit, not to the extreme he goes to, but a little bit.
I have kind of noticed that sometimes if we're doing something and one of us is like slacking, I'm like, oh, all right, let's see if we could try and make things a little more interesting. Like Nathan's better at 2K than you are, so I would try to help you and make sure you spear him as many times as possible.
Exactly. Yeah, that's actually a very good example of it because it was one of those. Yeah, my experience was I can button mash. At least y'all know how to do the combos. Why
I,
does
re-
I do my piece?
and I remember this the same time. I remember at the same time it was you versus me versus Jay versus Nathan. You somehow hit your finisher on I think it was Nathan, and you tried pinning him, and Jay tried breaking it up, but I attacked Jay and let you win. And he's like, "You could have stopped him." I'm like, I know, but I wanted the worst of us to win just to see the chaos.
Yeah, because they both pretty much went into it knowing that I've played 5 minutes of this game at that point, and like all the three of you've got I don't know a couple hours in.
Yeah, basically. And believe me, sometimes it would backfire, and I'd be like, "Oh God, I made a mistake." Richard knocked me out of the ring, pinned Nathan, and I won. And then I would just leave. I'm like, "No, no, I'm done. I'm going to dinner."
And then we go, okay, we're joining you, and I'll get the
Son
same
of a
time.
bitch.
And that's actually another kind of aspect that I think about it because he always got dragged in by his vice president, who's more kind of an aggressive personality. It's like getting dragged into stuff with that. I could see that with you as well.
It seems to happen more often than it should. But yeah,
Yeah.
I can co-sign. But now that you say all this, I'm not sure I'm happy about co-signing about it.
God, it's just our group dynamic. You know this.
Yeah, that's a sad but true phenomenon.
All right, your next honorable mention.
Maka Albarn from Soul Eater.
Okay.
Honestly, I feel like Maka has a tendency to like shut herself away when she's studying for a test or something, and you definitely had the habits of doing that in college.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, at the same time though, you are still more or less the voice of reason. Like I said, you're the voice of reason, and Maka was never really portrayed as the strongest. And I feel like you said, I'm not the best at all the stuff we do. And even though people are like, no, but like you're stronger than you think you are. Plus, just the idea that sometimes I remember one day you and I went to dinner, and you were in one area of the cafeteria and I was at the other, and look, Maka and Soul, they care about each other immensely, but they'll never really say anything. And I was getting food, and the woman serving it looked at you and then looked back at me, and she's like, "Are you guys best friends?" And I'm like, "No."
Oh god, yeah, it's yeah, our relationship, I don't know how to start. We're, I don't know, colleagues, but then also friends, but then also like acquaintances. I don't know how to describe it. It's weird.
It's like you said at one point, we're brothers who hate each other.
That is actually, now you said that is the perfect description and reminded me.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, her hard work does pay off in some senses, and there are times people look at her and they're like, maybe we should tell Maka she was right. Maybe we should listen to her more. And sometimes they say yes, and other times they're like, no, it's more fun this way.
Yeah, and I know y'all did that a few times. Uh, so I'll co-sign. I can definitely see it.
Yeah. Basically, you're more of the studier than I am, and you're more likely to get an A, while I'm in my underwear taking a test sitting next to somebody who won't even spell their name unless it's perfectly symmetrical, and somebody breaking a paper mache giraffe with their neck. It balances out. Soul Eater,
But
man.
well, I know, but I'm trying to think. It's like of the two of us, I think I was still probably more likely to be the one in my underwear, though.
Yeah, probably, but basically, you're more likely to do well on tests through studying, and I'm more likely to be sat next to Death and Patty. It just sort of makes sense.
Okay, I can kind of see it.
I need to go back and rewatch Soul Eater for that video.
So I have one for my next one. Actually, I'm gonna save that one for the last one, actually. Um, so the next one is Gray Fullbuster from Fairy Tale.
Okay.
The main reason I picked him was because not for anything he actually does, but just how he is with the fairy tale people and all that. There are times that we've argued and been upset at each other, but that's the thing with that is that I know that you'll have my back if something actually happens. And that's very much grateful. Buster, he doesn't necessarily always get along. Heck, we shit on each other all the time. I'm jokingly. That's very much gray. But again, it's that behind the scenes that I know that if I need to talk or something, I can always come to you and we'll always be able to have each other's back kind of thing.
Besides the whole he doesn't wear a shirt thing, I can definitely see that. To be fair, it's just fun to talk trash about each other sometimes. But I do like to think that in some senses I'd be like, hey, what, you need something? What's up? What's up? Oh, who do I have to fight for you? And they're like, no, it's nobody. It's just like it's kind of cold outside, and I left my jacket. Oh, well, I still got your back.
But you're not getting my jacket and you would walk away kind of thing. It's like,
Yeah, I can definitely see it. Wait, if I'm gray, does that make you not Sue? Then who the heck are you?
I don't know. I didn't think of I don't remember if I even picked a character from Fairy Tale. I just uh it was specifically those elements of gray that I picked out because I'm not that energetic like Natsu is, so I don't know if I would be the right fit. But
I did think, oh, if we ever do a sequel to this, he might have fairy tale characters. But then I thought to myself, I'm not going to come up with the sequel list just yet on the off chance we pick character because we might have the same characters on those lists. So, but yeah, I can still see. I can see Gray. Oh, is there what's that girl's name? Juvia? Is that her name?
yeah, it,
Go
that's
ahead.
that's something else that I guess I could put is the unwanted attention from the ladies that you got is because you got that a few times if I remember correctly, and Gray keeps dealing with that throughout the series, and then now it never happened for you, at least not yet, but he eventually does decide to settle down at the end of the series with her. So
No.
yeah, so right now it's not scheduled, but you're only partway through your series, so
No, no, but but no, but I do kind of understand that there is some unwanted attention, and no amount of hurtful comments from my family will probably cause me to change my mind. So I can understand that.
Okay.
All right,
We'll
so
unravel that another day.
and that's why I said I'm also Kazuki because he makes dark jokes like that about himself, and we're like, are you okay, dude? No. But anyways, my last honorable mention:
Go right ahead.
Yusuke Kitagawa from Persona 5.
Okay.
In all honesty, when I first met you, I kind of thought to myself, huh, he seems kind of a little more serious than I was anticipating, and that's Yusuke. But once you get to know Yusuke mainly through the games, you learn he's kind of another goofball. And he does have, there are times when we do those more creative videos where you'll come up with an idea, and I'm like, huh, I didn't even really think about that. That's actually kind of a cool idea. At the same at the same time, though, part of me doesn't know. Part of me, you never fully know when to take Yusuke seriously because sometimes he'll say something profound and powerful that makes you think, and other times you're like, you idiot, what the hell are you talking about? And you never really know when it is.
I'll 100% co-sign. This was one that once watching you play the games and then watching the anime, I can see it.
Yeah, but like I don't know. It does kind of go back to that conversation of I don't really know which one of us is the official leader because in the game Persona 5 Strikers, they're talking about a villain. And it's like it turns out the girl they're talking about went to your high school. Well, and the gang kind of gasps, and Yusuke's like, she went to Kosei Academy, and Bert's like, no, Shujin, why would she? No,
Oh, well, I am the main character in that game, aren't I?
sure. There are also scenes of when you play the game, you'll just see Yusuke like eating. I don't know if they're pokey sticks or whatever the heck they are, and it just reminds me of those sour straws you ate that one time, and it just found a way to ruin my night.
I had such a sugar high that day.
Yeah, and I woke up and just stared at you like morning princess. Don't do that again.
Ah, but I'll co-sign from what I've seen of the game and watching the anime. I can see it.
Yeah, but yeah, Yusuke,
Right. So my last honorable mention for you.
go for it.
So this one I think I noticed probably a bit more once we got my senior year where we were in the tower room and all that together.
Oh, okay.
Because then we weren't roommates, we were suite mates at that point. Yami from Black Clover. You needed your private time.
That's not the Black Clover character I thought you were going to say, but sure, keep going.
Yeah, just the reason there's not I haven't seen all of his story, so I don't know how if he changes too much, but just him needing his private time. And you with your walks, I never really wanted to go with your walks because I felt that was your time alone, and if I went there, I'd just be kind of disturbing you and just would piss you off, and I'd get those kind of death glares, and either that or I would get punched to just go away. So that's kind of why I picked Yami. It's like, yeah, he needs a little time alone, and I'm not going to disturb that for him.
Yeah, I can kind of see it. Now I'm not in the bathroom nearly as often as Yami.
Well, yeah, it's more to do with just needing the private time away from everybody else.
Yeah, but then I do kind of see it also in some cases of we are basically a band of misfits. I'd like to think, like
Yeah,
everybody else is like, oh, this person's all kind and caring and all this other stuff. I'm like, what about your friends? I'm like, oh, my friends are total numbskulls.
yeah, that's probably another good reason, and the fact that you are sometimes the leader of the group, as you said, the leadership in our group seems to change based on what we're doing or what needs to happen.
All I know is Nathan is never in charge.
So that one time,
Yeah,
never again.
I'm still finding pieces of squid in my backpack thanks to that night. But yeah, I can kind of see it for Yami. I don't think highly of myself to consider myself to be Yami, but I could still see it.
Exactly. As I said, I think there's aspects. to his character as well with the being the good friend with the leader of the Golden Dawn and the Wizard King and all that, having like even before becoming the captain of the Black Bulls, having another group of misfits. I have a feeling your friends from high school were also another group like that.
Yeah. I don't really talk to them that much anymore, but we were definitely a band of misfits.
Yeah, and then yeah, that's kind of it. There's still aspects of him that I know, but I don't know if they fit quite right.
Also, if I ever saved somebody, I'd say, if you guys don't get out of here alive, I will kill you.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. But I can see that. It reminds me of another character, but that's another video for another day.
All right, so you ready to do your last one for me?
Yep, it's another Black Clover character, but the character I see you as, and there were a couple, but I went with
Okay.
Honestly, it is a little bit of a complex. Like, there are times I think to myself, dang, Richard's a lot better at this than me. That kind of pisses me off. But at the same time, though, it's like we've said with other characters. They pick on each other, but never is the first to say, Asta's my rival, Asta's my friend. But I'm still going to be Wizard King before him. Not to mention, there are times where he'll interact with people, and he doesn't. I'm not going to say he doesn't know how to interact with people, but you can tell he's kind of a little more closed off than Asta would be. Also, since they like to test each other, like that one episode where they met, and it's like, "Hey, Asta, catch this!" and he fired a wind blast. Asta barely stops it, and he was like, I think that might have been a little too much." Like, has a very dry sense of humor, and I get the feeling if we ever had superpowers or anything, we would almost be killing each other, and you'd find a way to be like, "Oops, maybe I should have held back a little bit."
Yeah, I can kind of see it. I personally don't always view myself as the one who's uh, always ahead. I don't know. I always feel like I'm not always that far ahead or far ahead at all and
Yeah,
stuff.
I don't know. There are it could even be something as simple as, oh, we're playing a video game and Richard gets a higher score than everybody else, or it could be something more serious, like along the lines of, wow, Richard has a job that he actually seems to like. What the hell's that like?
Uh, I'm enjoying my job, but I'm still not necessarily doing well. Right now, it's kind of I'm in a weird spot with my new job, so.
Yeah,
But
but basically that, like I said, he like a sense of loyalty, but also a sense of dry humor, and also just a sense of sometimes you just want to smack. There are times I'm like, oh my god, I need to smack, I need to smack Richard for whatever he just said.
yeah, I can I know it's because I see it on your face when that happens.
Yeah, but ultimately just loyal. Well, definitely, as I've said before, you're definitely the smart one between the two of us, and I have no qualms about admitting that. But just the loyalty, because you are a loyal friend. If I come home after home, see, I'm talking like Kazuki. If I come back to the room after a long day, hey, I can generally just tell you the random stuff that Jenny ended up doing that made me upset.
Yep. Yeah, I can see it. So, all right, you ready for your last one?
I'd like to hope so, but I don't think I am.
So I'm gonna say the name, but wait for for me to say which version of the character.
Oh, oh gosh.
Tenten from Naruto spinoff Rock Lee and his Ninja Pals.
Okay.
You have your own individual quirks and things that happen that make you different, but I how to put it, you were never the most out there craziest one of our group, but you were also not the I guess because I was more the most normal one in our
Normal?
group. So you were kind of somewhere in the middle. Um, from your description after I graduated, you got um, stuck with some of the crazier members of our group trying to do everything. So there's
Yep.
that. And I kind of viewed that as like your interactions and her interactions are similar with Rock Lee and Neji and Mike Guy in that show being on the crazier side. So that's kind of where I pulled that from. But as I said, with your own unique little quirks that uh, make you not necessarily the most serious, but still more. You became the most serious character because you had to. Probably, I have a feeling.
If she didn't adapt, she would have gone crazy, and she already kind of did. But yeah, I can definitely see that. And I guess it's like I've said before, 1010 gets likable once you start watching that show and realizing, oh god, this is what she has to deal with. And she even has an episode where she firmly puts her foot down and saying, I don't really care if I'm a girl. Like, treat me like you would anybody else. And I've admitted I'm kind of like that. I'm like, people are like, oh, hey, if you're going up against a girl in this, you should go easy on her. I'm like, no, that's not my thing. Hey, doesn't it mean more if she beats me at full strength? But I'm still winning because because I'm not going to say I'm the best, but I want to win.
Yeah, and plus I have a feeling. Well, I don't know what you got Reese for his wedding, but I just have a feeling that because I feel that the Naruto Shinden story that they did it with the wedding, where she's also like dealing with Rock Lee and Mike Guy buying weights, and Neji in her mind ends up just like them.
Oh no!
It's like I have a feeling that uh, if you ever, whenever you go buy like a gift for Jay or his wedding or any of our others, if you end up bringing along the rest of us or other members of our group, that it's going to end up like they're buying something kind of random that really isn't necessarily the best wedding gift, and you're like, well, I'm getting them something in for probably like a deep fryer or something for the kitchen that you're like, this is useful, but also makes sense for them.
Yeah, oh god, gift giving. I do like to think I'm better at gift giving. Heck, move. Could you move your head a little bit? Oh, there we go. Right, that back there. The total down. Like, oh, Richard might like this. And I wanted to throw it at you, but I just opened the door and I'm like, here, take it. I don't need it.
Yeah, that was very nice of you. I'm definitely probably one of the worst gift givers of our group. I try to pick out things that I know y'all will like when I do, but then like that one time we got together for Christmas after I think we had all finally graduated, it's like, I don't know which wrestlers are popular anymore. Here, have gift cards. Go buy something.
Hey, that was perfectly fine with me. That was perfectly fine with me. And I got Nathan that movie of the wrestlers fighting Godzilla or so. To this day I don't even know why I bought it, but still. But yeah, I can kind of see 1010. And there are other Naruto characters I felt like I could have said for you, but I'm like, this video can only be so long, so maybe not this time.
Yeah, it's just I've watched a few of the scenes. I haven't seen the full series, but I've watched like a lot of the scenes on YouTube, and that's when I was like, this is what Alex has described as his like our group after me and Jabari left the year before.
Who would have thought Jabari was one of the sane ones?
He wasn't. It was just that he didn't hide it. We embraced his insanity more.
Well, we had to live with him, so I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I can kind of see myself with 1010. Especially the moments where she's serious and the moments where she starts proclaiming she's 1010 the Great, which I guess a little bit of my guy rubbed off on her.
Exactly. There's just, yeah, the bits of crazy that I know rubbed off on me, I feel like rubbed off a lot on you especially when you lost me there.
Yeah, it was not a good year and a half, but I could see myself from S1010.
All right. And I think that about wraps this one up.
All right, so, you know, this is normally the time where I'd be like, ladies, gentlemen, and others, what characters do you think represent us? But like, I don't really know. I don't really know I don't know what to tell them in the comments today.
Yeah. I mean, you could do what we did last time. If they have any ideas on characters that represent themselves and want to talk about that in our comments, then feel free to do that.
Sure, do that. Do that, because, yeah, we'd like to learn a little more about our fan base as we get dangerously closer and closer to 700 subscribers, because, dear Lord, you guys will not slow down.
Yeah, I mean, I think last week when we checked, we were a little over 500.
That would be correct.
So thank you all for subscribing. It means a lot to us.
That is correct, and please just let us know any other topics you want to talk about. Hopefully franchises that we've both seen, or just lists in general. Because we have a few more ideas, but if you guys have better ideas, then let us know, please.
Yeah, we need all the ideas we can get at this point.
Yeah. But be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that other nonsense, and we will see you guys next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you have been listening to Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy.